Dave, give me your real name.
David Lee Collier.
Collier.
Right.
When were you born?
August the 30th of 1958.
Okay. Now let me make sure I got you here. That ought to work. Oops. Dave, this says that you are on tape 46.
Okay.
And this is a new tape, so when I get it filled up, I'll take it down to the Portsmouth Public Library, and it'll be on the shelf down there at the library.
Okay.
So 100 years from now, when your great-greats want to see you and hear you, they can go down there and check you out.
Yeah, see how
See what
rough things was, where they come from.
Right. I've thought several times, imagine what it would be like if you could go to the library and pull off the tape and see what your great-greats did in the Civil War.
Right.
Something like that.
Right.
Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Yes, sure would.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just take a sip of this first and put it over here. Dave, you told me your name, David Collier, and your date of birth. What was that again, August?
August the 30th of 1958.
And where were you born?
Portsmouth, Ohio.
And what's your present address here?
It's 1892 Greenbrier Road, Portsmouth, Ohio.
And in fact, this is where we are right now. This is your house.
Right.
Okay. How long have you been in this house?
We moved in here like in December of 1985.
Okay. And you say you grew up actually across the street here.
Yes.
Okay. So, are you presently employed, unemployed, or what's the situation?
I'm disabled.
Okay, and that was because of we were talking earlier.
Right. Health heart attack, and a few other health issues. So.
What did you do before then?
I was a laborer at Memphis Farm Supply.
Okay. How far did you get in school?
I got a GED
From
the military.
Okay. And are you married, single, divorced, widowed, separated, or all of the above?
Married.
How long have you been married?
We've been married 21 years.
Newlyweds then, huh?
Oh, yeah.
What's your wife's name?
Glenda.
Now, how many children do you have?
I have 2 stepchildren.
And what are their names?
It's James Large and Selena Blanton.
What was the boy's name again?
James Large.
L-A-R-G-E?
L-A-R-G-E.
And the girl's name was?
Selena, S-E-L-E-N-A, Blanton.
Blanton, okay. Now, what were your parents' names? What was your mother's name?
Martha. Her maiden name was Gifford.
Martha Gifford.
Right.
Okay, what was your father's name?
John Collier.
John Collier. And did you have brothers and sisters?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had plenty of those. My oldest brother is Leonard Collier. And the next in line was Barbara. She's now a Loop. And the next was a Juanita. She's now a Lute. The next was Carol. She is now a Jones. Brenda, she's now a Barker. Mary, she's now a Horsley. Then there's myself. Then brother Johnny. A sister, Iva, she's divorced and took back her maiden name, Collier. And Nina Mercer.
Boy, I'd like to see the Thanksgiving table.
Yeah. Too many to remember.
Incredible. Well, tell me this then. Your father's name was John. What was his father's name?
Paul.
What was his mother's name? Grandma.
I honestly can't remember. I know her last name was Allure. I never knew her.
Okay.
She's, I'm 46 years old, and she passed away like 55 years ago.
Okay. Do you know Paul's father's name, your great-grandfather?
No, I don't.
Has anybody in the family got this written down anywhere, maybe?
I'm sure most likely one of my sisters does.
Okay. Now, what was your mother's father's name?
My mother was adopted, so I really don't even know her father's name.
Okay. What did your father do, occupation?
He was a construction laborer.
Okay. We always like to get a timeline on these things. I know the library is really interested in genealogy and things like that. Now, you were in the Army?
Yes.
From when to when?
I was in active duty from February of 1977 through June of 1980.
Okay. You say active duty, then you went into...
I was in reserves, and I was also in the Ohio National Guard.
Okay. Now, going back to when you went in, that was 1977. Did you enlist?
Yes.
I don't think there was a draft then.
That was just followed. The draft was abolished in 1976.
Okay. So you enlisted. How old were you when you enlisted?
I was 18.
When you were finally discharged from the Guard, the reserves, and everything, what was your rank?
Specialist 4th class.
Now, where did you do your basic training?
I done my basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Okay. That was, what, 8 weeks? Or?
I believe it was 8 weeks.
Okay. Then where did you go after that?
I went to Fort Knox for my AIT.
What was your AIT?
I was what they call a 63 Charlie, a track diesel mechanic.
Okay. Why did you join the Army anyway?
Pretty much it was the economy, and another thing, I just thought that it was more of an obligation, for what a young man should do.
Was your father in the service?
My dad tried to get in, but he couldn't get in. I'm not sure which era that was, but my dad couldn't get into the military. My older brother was in the military.
Was he?
Yeah, he served a term in Vietnam. And just after I was in, then my younger brother, he was in also for like 7 or 9 years. I'm not sure which.
Okay. Well, you were a diesel track mechanic. Now, what does that person do?
Pull maintenance on. It wasn't only the track vehicles, which when I was in, we still had the M60 Abrams tanks. We had the M88 recovery vehicles. We had several what they call cherry pickers, which was cranes on track. The reason we had those is out in the field, should a motor or transmission go bad, you got to pull the motor transmission out. You have a crane, you have to lift the decks off, pull the motors, transmissions, do the maintenance that need to be done to them, and reinstall. In addition to that, we also had a lot of wheel vehicles, which consist of the old style Jeeps, and we had deuce and a half trucks. We had 5-ton trucks, 10-ton trucks. Just basically anything for combat support.
Good. How long was your AIT there at Fort Knox?
I believe it was like 12 weeks.
Okay. Did you like Fort Knox?
At the time, no.
Have you been back?
I actually have not. I've not been on Fort Knox since the day I left, but I have been by there one time.
You did. You went by.
Yeah,
31W. You passed through.
31W at Radcliffe, Kentucky, and this was about 3 years ago, I'm thinking, and that's the first time I was there since 1980.
I lived in Muldrow.
Oh yeah, I remember that place.
Yeah. I worked at the Ireland Army Hospital there and lived off post. After your AIT then, where did you go?
I was scheduled to went to Fort Riley, Kansas, for my permanent party, but it ended up that they was needing some track mechanics at Fort Knox, and I ended up spending all my time at Fort Knox.
Oh, really? Did you get into Louisville a lot?
I traveled through Louisville quite a bit. I didn't actually, go to party like a lot of the guys did. I did.
Were you married at the time?
No, I was single.
You going with your wife, dating her? Or
no, I never met her until after I was out of the military. I had some friends, met good friends in there, and some buddies. I traveled back and forth. On the weekends when we had time off. I was in during peacetime. We'd take turns, travel, spend the weekend at each other's house, sometime. On the weekends we wouldn't have to work.
You didn't go up to West Point to some of the strip clubs up there?
No, I never did. I went to a strip club when I was at Fort Leonard Wood, but that was the only one I was ever at.
All right. Well. Okay, and do you still keep in contact with some of the guys you met there?
Actually, one of my roommates while I was at Fort Knox, his name was James Harrison. Him, his wife, and a daughter, they came up and spent Christmas with us. They live in Alabama. They spent Christmas with us about 5 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that a pretty pleasant visit then?
Yes and no. I was glad to see him.
What are they doing here at Christmas?
Well, not only that, but it was a really bad winter. It was cold. We couldn't get out and do anything. I was having some health problems.
Oh, yeah.
It just kind of made it a little rough.
Well, you were there for your whole. You were in till your active duty was.
Right.
To when? 1980.
1980.
1980. Did you ever think of wanting to stay in on active duty, or what was the deal?
Actually, I considered it, but I really didn't put enough thought in it, serious thought into it. Yeah. I was young, and I had other things to do, but I didn't realize how good of an opportunity that it really was at the time.
Right. So then, after you got out, well, what was a typical work day like at Fort Knox?
Well, we would get up at 5 a.m. You go to calisthenics. After calisthenics, go to breakfast. After breakfast, you have another formation before work. We'd be at work like, I'm thinking it was like 7 a.m.
Were you out in the field a lot?
Yes, we, as a combat support unit, we spent a lot of time in the field.
Okay. Did you like that?
Some of it I did. I was pretty much an outdoors person. I actually enjoyed that more than staying in the motor pool all the time.
Okay. Well, now it comes time for you to get out, and so then where did you go then?
Well, actually, I just came back home.
From here?
Yes, Portsmouth, and I put a few job applications in, and it took a while to get a job. I took the first job that was offered, which was at a gas station. And
when did you get married?
In 1983.
Okay. Is she local?
Yes.
Okay. So you met her when you got back, or did you know?
About a year after I got out, I guess.
Okay. Now, but are you in the reserves then at that time, or the Guard at that time?
I was in the reserves.
Did you go right into the reserves, or did you wait a period?
Yeah, I went straight into the reserves. I was in the reserves for about a year and a half or so.
What unit was that? Was that down here in Portsmouth?
I forget exactly what they call that, but it's an inactive reserve. And then I joined the what is it, the 216th Engineer Combat Battalion here in Portsmouth for the Ohio National Guard.
Right. They're in Iraq now.
Oh yeah.
Probably know.
But at the time, I was in at peacetime, and after being on active duty, the National Guard just seemed too much like a joke.
Yeah.
So
you were there how long?
I was in one year.
You were 1 year, and that was enough.
That was plenty.
Yeah. My son's in the National Guard, and sometimes he gets pretty fed, even at this period of time.
Right.
Yeah. But well, was that the end of your Army career then?
That was the end of it.
Has your stepson ever joined or anything like that?
No, he has.
Thought about it?
He has. It's eyesight problems. It's similar to dyslexia.
Oh.
He sees things upside down and backwards
Oh.
from the way everybody else sees them.
Huh.
So it makes it a little.
Right. You
Little
don't want things to go backwards.
Right. Rough enough when you see things right.
Is he working though?
Yes, he helps a cleaning business. I can't remember the name of it. They clean businesses and
Right.
things.
Right. Did you like the military?
Yes, I did. I mean, there was, like everything else, there's good points that you like about it, and then there's other points you don't like about it.
Kind of wish you'd stayed in some ways.
At times.
Yeah.
At times, I mean, like I say, at the time that I was actually in, I didn't realize the opportunity that was there. The old saying is, you don't miss nothing till it's gone.
Exactly.
So.
Sometimes I wish I'd stayed in.
Right.
I've been retired now.
Right.
Had another career.
I mean, here I am, 46 years old. I would.
You'd been out.
I would have been retired years
You'd
ago.
have been retired. Right. Was there anything else you want to say? This was at peacetime, and you didn't go overseas or anything.
No. We had a lot of field duty. I was at Camp Drum, New York.
Oh yeah.
2 different times for field training.
Got TDY
Right.
things up there? Okay. Fort Drum's in New York.
In New York, it's like 75 miles north of Buffalo, New York. It's like 5 miles off the Canadian border, which at the time was pretty rough. You go up that far north in January, and you spend 31 days out in a tent at 45 below zero.
A little cooler than Kentucky.
Little cool. But that was our Russia training.
What training you need?
It's
Russia.
Well, at the time, the competitor, so I guess would be to the United States, was Russia. And they was assuming that should we ever go to combat with Russia, Russia's climate is a lot colder than the United States. So we had to go up there to get our like a winter training to let us have experience of what to expect.
Okay. Is the 10th Mountain Division up there? Somewhere in New York.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
It's real close in there.
Did you go anywhere else? At Fort Drum and
I was
Leonard Wood and Knox?
I was at I can't remember the name of it. It was up in Michigan.
Camp or Fort? Would be Grayling, would it?
That Fort Grayling. That was at
Right.
Fort Grayling, Michigan, I believe it was.
My son went there.
Yeah.
He's been up there. What was that about then?
That was also, well, it was like it was a spring training. I really don't know the purpose of it. I mean, we was just there for support for the tank units. There again, we didn't have to stay out in tents that time. They did have wooden barracks for us.
Okay. How long were you in the reserves?
A total of 3 years.
Where did you go for your training there?
Well, the reserves was actually in connection with active duty.
Oh, it was.
Yes.
Okay. Then, when you were in the Guard, where did you go for your summer?
I went to Camp Perry.
Camp Perry, on the lake.
Right, up on Lake Michigan.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to say?
That's really about it.
That's your Army. That's your Army. Okay, well, thanks. Thanks for everything you did.
Thank you.
All right.